Hi, this is Miss Townsend. Welcome to Math with Townsend. This is a video for my grade 10 students where I take up some of the questions from our algebra review on substitute and evaluate. So I'm going to take up first question 15 from our handout. It says evaluate the expression below where x equals -4 and y equals 3. So we need to first do the substitution. So anywhere that I see an x, I now know that the value of x is -4. And anywhere that I see a y, I know the value of y is now 3. So the expression says 2 bracket, and then there's an x, plus y, and then there's a close bracket, plus 4 times another bracket, where there's y in the numerator and 6 on the bottom. So you've seen me do this in class where I write the expression with empty brackets and then I go back and fill them. That just works best for me. And maybe it's something that you don't need to do, but maybe it's something that you should try if you're getting some wrong answers. So x is -4. I put that there. Y is 3. And that's also a place where y is 3. So to evaluate this expression, I need to follow the rules of Bedmas. So looking at what I have, I can see that I've definitely got some brackets. And we know according to Bedmas, we need to deal with those brackets first. So let's look at what we have. So working our way from left to right, I've got a nice big bracket here. And inside of that, there's some math I need to do. I'm just double checking to make sure that there's nothing else happening there. There's no exponent on that bracket to worry about. And if there was, I wouldn't do that first anyway, because I have to do what's inside the bracket first. So I have -4 plus 3, which is -1, and then a plus sign, and then I have another bracket here. So 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. And I'm going to show you another way you could get that answer in a second. But for now, that's what I have. So I've done the math inside of my brackets. And now I'm going to look and see what else is happening to my brackets. So for example, is there an exponent on any of them? No. So what's really happening is there's an invisible multiply sign here, and there's an invisible multiply sign here. So I'm going to do those multiplications next. 2 times -1 is -2, plus, and this is 4 times 1/2. So because of fractions involved, we know that we multiply fractions times fractions by doing top times the top. That's 4 times 1, and bottom times the bottom, 1 times 2. So that expression is now a fraction, but it's a fraction that doesn't have to stay a fraction, because if I do that division sign, 4 divided by 2 is just 2. So I end up with -2 plus 2. I'm now almost done Bedmas because I'm just about to add -2 plus 2 is 0. So the answer is 0. So I just want to go back up here and talk about another way you could have done that little part of the question, especially if you're not as comfortable with fractions as perhaps some of us are. So I'm just focusing in on this part. So the way that I did it here is I looked in the bracket and did what's 3 divided by 6, and that means I just reduced the fraction. But technically when I'm reducing a fraction, what I'm doing is dividing. And when you're dividing or multiplying, you can do them in any order within one term, which is what this is. So what I could have done is I could have done multiply by that fraction. So instead of thinking of it as 3 divided by 6, if I had sort of mentally said, well, that's the fraction 3 over 6, and what am I doing to the fraction? I'm multiplying by 4, then I could have approached this in this way. So I'm going to multiply 4 times the fraction, and as we talked about already, that means I'm really multiplying 4 over 1 times 3 over 6. So top times the top, 4 times 3 is 12. Bottom times the bottom, 1 times 6 is 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I could have got this value of 2 in a slightly different way. Either way, you'd end up with -2 plus 2 equals 0. So now I'm going to look at another question in this video from the same worksheet. So again, we're evaluating the expression below for x equals -4 and y equals 3. So let's look at the expression. So it says I have 3 times a bracket, and then what's in the bracket? So y squared minus 3 bracket x over 2. So you can see I'm trying to be really careful to match my brackets, so I know for sure that there's a big bracket here, and then there is another bracket here, sort of a medium bracket, and then of course we have our substitution brackets. So what am I substituting in? Well, x is -4, and that was x over 2, and y is 3. So now I'm going to start to do my bedmess math. So that 3 times the bracket is going to have to wait quite a while because there's math I need to do inside that bracket. So here I have 3 inside a bracket, and there's nothing to do inside that bracket, so I'm going to do 3 squared is 9. Now moving on to the second part of what's in the big green bracket, I'm going to do what I mentioned in last question, is I'm going to multiply the fraction in the bracket by the number out front. So that means I do top times the top. So -3 times -4. So -3 times -4 is +12. And then 1 times 2 is 2. So what's nice about that is I know right away what 12 divided by 2 is. That's 6. So I'm almost done dealing with that bracket. 9 plus 6 is 15. And now the only math left to do is this multiplication. 3 times 15 is 45. So I hope that was helpful. Keep practicing math.